Mr. Myers, you ready?
Of course.
Mr. Buttle's ready? Mr. Mauceri?
Ready.
Ready. Okay. Welcome to week 18 of PIX on Pigskin from the PIX 11 Sports Department, high above 42nd Street in the heart of New York City. The office is falling apart, but the show is not. I'm your host, Todd, the executive producer of the PIX 11 Sports Department. Joining us today, a linebacker on the Jets' all-time team, a man who tackles subjects on the New York Blitz and picks on pigskins, the way he used to tackle quarterbacks in the NFL, the one, the only, Greg Buttle.
I can't believe you waited until this week to break out that. That was great.
That was good.
That was fantastic.
Good. Turning phrases.
Wordsmith.
Yes. And we're joined by another wordsmith, New York Times bestselling author, man who has covered the New York football scene since 1989, star of TV, radio, and the newspapers, a fellow panelist on the New York Blitz, our friend, Gary Myers.
Yay!
Joining us this week and every week, our resident NFL expert, the host of the New York Blitz, a friend of Greg Buttle's, a friend of Gary Myers, a friend of mine, a friend of anybody who listens to this podcast, the very friendly Joe Mauceri.
And off the COVID list, most importantly of all.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Healthy.
Yes.
I feel like Greg Buttle is starting the show by he showed up for the SAT without a pen or a number 2 pencil over here, the way he's rummaging through his backpack. But I think he found one, so
his facts are all good.
we're good to go.
You know, when you guys say something stupid, I want to write it down so I can kill you.
You need 2 or 3 pens. 'Cause
Yes.
You're going to run out of ink.
A big pad, too.
Yes. So rundown for today's show. The Jets are heading to Buffalo to play spoiler to the Bills' playoff hopes. The arrow seems to be pointing up for them. What's the future have in store for the New York Jets? Giants have lost their starting quarterback, then their backup quarterback, then their head coach lost his mind during an 11-minute rant post-game press conference last Sunday. We'll look ahead to who's staying, who's going, and what can be done to fix this mess. But let's start with another mess. Let's start with Antonio Brown. Mr. Buttle, have you ever, in all your years playing football, in college, in the pros, covering football as a pregame host and an expert analyst on television and radio, seen any player ever quit in the third quarter of a game the way Antonio Brown did?
No, I haven't. I've seen people that have mental issues for whatever reason that have done things, but that's the first time I've ever seen a player walk out of a game, and not just walk out. He's got to become a star to walk out of the game. We're all in the press box going, "What happened?" Nobody knew. Nobody knew exactly what was going on.
Well, you're a reporter. If I was you, if I was there, I would have got right in the elevator, met him at the end of the tunnel, and say, "Hey, what's up? What were you doing?"
Where were you?
I wasn't there.
Okay, why weren't you there?
But you were there. I wasn't there.
The
You were
room
there.
where it happened.
Yes, except one thing.
What's that?
I am not a reporter.
This is true.
So, Mr. Myers, as a reporter, because you are one, what did you make of that scene?
It was bizarre, to say the least. Listen, it's turned into a he said, she said thing now between Bruce Arians and the Bucs and Antonio Brown and his agent and his lawyer and his third cousin and whatever. Listen, I think he brought up some really interesting points in some of these text messages and his statement. He said he took a painkiller before the game. In the third quarter, he couldn't play anymore. He told the Bucs that when they tried to put him back in the game. I don't know what happened prior to that. Was he complaining to the trainers, to the team doctor? Was Bruce Arians made aware that he can't go back in the game? Was he disrespectful when he told he couldn't go back in the game? Is that why Arians walked over and, according to Brown, said you're gone and made the slashing throat across his throat, the slashing sign across his throat? I mean, these are things. I think the truth will eventually come out, but there are, very different stories right now about what actually leading up to those circumstances. And the reason people are not giving Brown the benefit of the doubt, and I think deservedly so, is because of his past behavior. It's not like he. Let's just say it's not like he's Sterling Shepard. I'm just pulling a name out of a guy who, has been a great teammate and a great guy in the locker room and has never caused a problem for the Giants other than the fact that he's always hurt. But I'm just saying, just as a person, he doesn't have Sterling Shepard's sterling reputation, so that Brown comes up with his side of the story, everybody's going, yeah, right. I don't know. I mean, he said he went to see a doctor at a hospital for special surgery here on Monday, and the MRIs showed all kinds of bad stuff.
But listen, there were so here's the thing. This story from Antonio Brown came out like the day after it happened, right? Initially, when this all was happening, there were like 3 different reasons that he said that he left the game, and it was kind of confusing. So I think this story got the most legs and the most traction. Now, look, whether or not he was 100%, which I don't think he was, and at this time, I mean, Greg Buttle has said it to me, nobody's 100% at this time in the season. He was out there and he was playing. Somebody was just straight up lying, though, in the fact that Bruce Arians says he had no idea that he was injured and couldn't go in the game. If that was not brought, like, guys get injured in an NFL game all the time, right? They re-aggravate injuries when they're out there trying. And then what happens? You go over, you tell the coach, and you go to the trainers. At the time when he was told to go back in the game, he wasn't with the trainers. He wasn't, complaining about the injury. So that's the normal process of how this happened. That clearly didn't happen in this situation.
You would think if Arians told him to go back in the game and he said no, and Arians had not been told by the trainers to that point that he can't go back in the game, then he's just thinking he's being insubordinate.
Right.
No, I'm not playing. I'm pissed off you haven't thrown me the ball enough in the first half, or whatever would be going through his mind. If Arians didn't know it was injury related, then I can see him reacting the way he did.
But every time a guy...
You can't see him reacting the way he did. Running off the field like that?
No, I'm talking about
Arians. Okay.
So,
okay.
Coach,
There's no excuse. There's no excuse
yeah.
for what Antonio Brown did.
So, yes, coach would be pissed. That makes perfect sense.
Yes.
But in what scenario? I mean, you guys see... In the NFL, you see a guy make a big play and run for 40 yards or something like that, and he taps on the helmet to come out of the game, right? Like that never happened at any point in here. You would think if my ankle's killing me, hey, I just ran that last route, it's killing me, coach, I got to come out. And then you go over there and say, hey, my ankle's done. And he's not saying go back and
He wasn't
go see the
skipping
trainer.
off the field
right,
either.
Afterwards.
He wasn't
exactly.
hobbling. He was running and skipping off the field. There was no
But he
hitch in his
he wasn't cutting and taking any hits. That was a nice...
It was the adrenaline and the emotion of the moment.
It was a nice, graceful skip. But I still want to know why Buttle was not at the end of that tunnel waiting for him.
I had a job to do, and one of them was not interviewing a nutcase.
Are you sure
like
you weren't
that.
still in the coaches' club at halftime?
Eating?
Scarfing
Yeah.
everything?
So wait, I want to ask...
shrimp?
Wait, Greg, I
Nice
got to
sideways?
ask you this, because all jokes aside, it was probably a delicious ice cream sundae. However... in this day and age, right, we talk about the difference between hurt and injured in the NFL. I've heard NFL players say these guys are smarter, past NFL players say current players are smarter than us because we went out there and played through injury, and we shouldn't have done that based on what I know now. One, should NFL players still be doing that? And two, where's that line of if you're going to be out there, you're playing in today's day and age?
Well, let's just call it the way it is. If you were one of those great players, okay, they babied you, the great players. If you
Even
weren't-
then?
Then they babied the great players because you couldn't afford to lose those guys. There weren't a lot of great ones on one team.
Why do you think he was always walking around with a pacifier?
And the thumb in the other. Anyway. And another thing is that the difference today is that with all the guaranteed money you have out there, it behooves you not to play injured or hurt,
Right.
because it will only shorten your career. And
I'm
what's the
really
goal?
trying to
Make
listen
money.
to what
Put
you're
worse
saying
plays
right
on
now.
tape.
Right.
Is anybody else just seeing Greg Buttle with a pacifier and a Jets binky walking around the stadium
Ah,
now?
yeah.
Because that's all I can
Absolutely.
see as he's
The
saying
pinky
this.
screen, though. So
Absolutely.
The outfit matches.
and a pair of oversized diapers.
Oh, my
Right.
goodness. And we've lost Greg for
Triple
the rest of this
XL.
podcast.
All right, can I bring Greg back in?
Please.
The last question on this topic goes to Mr. Buttle. You have the final say on this. Even if Antonio Brown was 100% right, even if he did tell Arians he was hurt, even if he didn't feel like he could go back in, to quit on a team, to make a spectacle of yourself, to quit on your brothers, to quit on the rest of the players, if you were on another team and he was signed, would you take him in? Do you think that other players will take him in and welcome him in? Do you think another team would sign him?
Let me break it down
Please.
in an intellectual way.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk psychology for a second.
Somebody must have told him this then. If you could say
No, it's not. No,
Gary, you'll
If
translate
you,
for
if you
Joe
would
and
read
myself.
instead of write, you would learn something. So
Ooh,
pay
ouch.
attention.
It's probably
Okay.
true.
Is that when you talk about individual people, they're grouped into a lot of different things. And he would be what I call an individualist. That is a guy that is more narcissistic. Everything revolves around him first. You need those type of players on football teams. The other type are social binders. I would be a social binder, where things matter, rules, organization. It's all about that. Individualist, it's about him. A social binder, it's about the rules, the tradition, and everything that goes like that. You need social binders. If you have too many individualists on your football team, you will never win because they overcome the social binders that run the football team. So if you have an individual like Antonio Brown, who's an individualist, you can put up with the guy. As we had when we played on the Jets, there were individualists on our team,
For
without
example?
a question. I'm not going to go
You can
there.
name names.
I'm not naming anybody. I'm talking
have some
about
fun.
Antonio Brown. No,
Okay.
talking about Antonio Brown. So Antonio Brown can serve a team really well if you've got a social binder like Tom Brady, a social binder like Fournette, all of these guys. So if you have on a team of 11, you've got 9 social binders and 2 individualists, and those 2 individualists you need, okay? They control the individualists, right? If they can't control them, they're gone, and they bring another guy in. So yes, the long story short is, yeah, I wouldn't mind having an Antonio Brown on my team, score touchdowns, shut up, and get the job done. And I do know you don't care if we win or lose. It's all about you. I get that. But in that, I'll use you because it benefits me. So there you go.
So you think that he can get another chance,
Sure.
even though he quit on a team in the middle of a game?
Sure.
Huh?
Because in his mind, if you can understand other people first instead of yourself,
Yes.
always look from the perspective
Always,
opposite you,
I agree
okay?
with that.
The guy's wacky. So he's making these decisions based on information from a perspective that it's hard to understand. So that I'm going to give him the break. It's like someone that's a manic depressives. On medications, they're fine. Off the
Right.
medication, they do things that you just can't understand.
Right, probably because they can't understand it.
Good point.
Dr. Buttle, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Buttle out. Gary, pay the bill, the doctor's bill, would you?
This better be covered.
Yeah, so actually, we have health coverage.
All
here
right,
next
good,
time.
thank
Yeah,
you.
next.
You got
So
a $1,000 deductible.
Yeah, certainly. Joe, you'll pick that up. You're telling.
There you go.
So let's take a look at the Jets Bills. First question to Mr. Buttle. The Jets went toe-to-toe with the champs. They had them beat with a minute to go.
24-10 with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter.
It's 100% correct. So the question is, can they go to Buffalo and ride that wave of confidence that they know that they're getting better and knock off the Bills in a game that the Bills need to win?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why, because every game is different. And this is a big different game. This creates different problems for the Jets defense, and that's that quarterback. The quarterback that can not only run, he can throw, he's smart, he's a great athlete. You've got other players around him, you've got a really good offensive line. And forget that, their defense is very good. And so when you look at that, you have the Jets who are trying to find themselves. You've got the Buffalo Bills that know what they are. They just can't make the mistakes that they make when they lose games.
Champs didn't know who they were. Champs aren't good.
They knew exactly who they were, and you know who won the game? The champs won the game.
Can I just throw something
Yes,
in here?
at the end.
I think the
93-yard drive,
key,
9
the
plays.
key thing to remember about Sunday's game is it's being played at the same time as the Dolphins and the Patriots, and the division title is at stake. So Buffalo has all the incentive in the world to win this game. Not that the Bucs didn't have to win last week's game, but they already had the division clinched, and they're just fighting for seeding. Here, you're fighting for a home game and not to be a wild card team. So whatever the Jets accomplished last week, now, I was saying to Greg earlier today, is there a more depressing scenario for the Jets than finishing the season at 4:25 on a Sunday afternoon in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Where the Bills are playing for a division championship, and
Brutal.
the Jets are just trying to get back on the plane without getting anybody hurt.
And get
I mean,
warm.
and
Let me just say something. The Jets are not just trying to get back on a plane without anybody hurt. That's putting words into the people's ears. That's not true. The Jets or they would have gotten crushed against the Tampa Bay Bucs.
You're right.
No,
but individually, the Jets.
I understand
putting on tape-
facetiously. If you meant that facetiously, I get
Yeah,
that.
you know,
Look,
I mean,
players play to win,
Right,
and they're
absolutely.
putting their plays on tape
Absolutely.
for next year for
Yeah.
a contract.
So
or
I'll
to get
rescind
signed.
that to a certain degree. I'm just saying the Jets
Right.
have nothing to play for in terms
Correct,
of
absolutely, except for
standings,
themselves.
records.
Yes.
And as you said, I can't believe anybody ever disagreed with you about this, but you said at the beginning of the year, the records
Wins
don't
and
matter.
losses don't matter.
Right now, you're right. The Jets' record doesn't matter
Wow.
except for their.
What time is it? Gary Myers just said Greg Buttle was wrong.
Actually,
Well, I still don't
It's
agree with
shocking.
him.
It still
And
matters
yet-
in the sense that it might get them a worse pick if they do
Right.
go out there somehow and win
I'm
this
also
game.
kidding about. I never would agree with the records don't matter when you say that at the opening of a season.
Right.
You say that it's in week 18 now. The record only matters. You want to lose
Took
the
me
game.
out of context again, and which he does all the time.
all the time.
I said the record doesn't matter for the Jets this year.
This
They got
year.
a brand new coaching staff, brand new player. They got brand new everything. Record doesn't matter. It's about finding a quarterback, getting something that's concrete, changing the locker room, and making this a Robert Saleh football team. That's what this year was about.
Did they do it?
I think they
Ooh,
did.
that's a good question.
So
I
let's-
think they did.
So let's discuss that. Let's discuss that quarterback.
That's a good question.
Yeah, there was an excellent question.
I'm good at that stuff.
I didn't say
What
excellent.
do you-
I didn't say excellent. Say
You
good.
said good.
Good. Yeah. No,
I
you
know,
said
but
excellent.
I'd like him to stay.
All right. Oh, okay.
Be nice. He walked out of the middle. of
we
this
only got a
podcast.
few more minutes
Do you
for him to
remember that?
stay. Let's
Right.
hold him in.
The middle of a
just
podcast.
a few more
he
minutes.
was gone 1 week.
We've made it almost 18 weeks.
So yes. So Greg, Zach Wilson, last 4 weeks, 0 interceptions.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. It seems to me, I don't have a stopwatch on him, but from the naked eyes, if the ball is coming out quicker, which means his decision-making process seems to be quicker, he looks like he's more in command of the offense. What is your evaluation of Zach Wilson? You started at the beginning of the year wanting to see his progress. What have you seen?
Okay, I break it down into like 2 or 3 things during the process. One is this. He had 2 games, one with a 4-interception game, one with a 3-interception game. He finished to this point with 11 interceptions. That's tremendous. I love that. The problem is there are the touchdown passes. He needs more touchdowns. You need at least twice as many as you have interceptions. He doesn't have that. Why? Not because of Zach Wilson. He's got his wide receivers weren't playing. The running backs weren't playing. 3 offensive linemen weren't
Braxton
playing. for the
Berrios
guy.
was playing.
One guy.
I'm just
One
kidding.
guy.
I'm just
And you know what?
yes.
I don't know why he wasn't doubled every time, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
So my thing is that I think the kid's played very well. He's come around. He's gotten more towards the top of the mountain yet. He hasn't seen everything yet. And again, you can go back on that one play that everybody wants to talk about, the quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
That was a mistake by him. Okay. Chalk it up
Did
to
he
a
read that wrong?
He probably did read it wrong, and he probably.
The
and
coach said he read it right, but
no.
they just based on the front, it was the absolute right.
I just think this. Listen,
I want to ask Greg something here. This is actually important. Some
Supposed to
ex-Jets
everything
went
else
on
we
a
do.
post-game show the other day and were claiming that Zach ran the ball because he wanted to be the hero to get the first down or the touch. I don't know if you heard these statements.
I did not hear one statement, but I'm going to answer it based on the fact that this is quote unquote what they said. So what did they say?
I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit.
That's a
here.
problem. But go ahead.
And
I'll play with the
It was
paraphrase.
Bart Scott and
Love Bart Scott.
Doozable, and who's the other guy that's on that show?
I don't know Dues much on.
I forget.
Could you get to it a paraphrase, please?
Yeah, the point they were trying to make is that Zach wanted to pick up the first down, that he was basically off on an island by himself there making a decision because he wanted to be the hero and be able to get that first down to clinch the game and jump into the arms of his offensive lineman or whatever and say, it was like a look at me moment.
He called it a character flaw.
Who said this? Was it Bart?
Bart Scott said that it was a character flaw.
I think Bart misspoke, and you know what? He misspoke for whatever reason.
No, that's not misspeaking.
No, that's
using the wrong word. He went on and on about it.
I think that then if he went on and on about it, I think he was wrong. Okay, so that's number one. I think he was wrong about it. I don't think you could be in Zach Wilson's head, and I don't think he knows Zach Wilson that. I don't know how many times he's gone out to dinner with him, so it'd be very difficult.
I would venture to say he's never met him.
Right. So but either way, he may have.
This day and age,
he may
yeah,
have.
I bet you to say
You know, and you know what? There's a lot that goes into trying to do a telecast and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I say live and let live. Let them say what they want to say. And if you want to argue with it, you can argue with it. I don't argue with it. I just say, in my opinion, I think Bart Scott was wrong with that evaluation. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad guy or anything like that. He's making this point for whatever reason, but I don't think for 1 second that Zach Wilson made that call because he wanted to be in the arms of his fellow teammates. I believe he made the call because he felt, this is the call, I'm going to run the play. And I'm not changing it. That's the difference between Zach Wilson and me. If that call comes into me and I'm playing, I'm going, this play's not working. This is a big play. I'm going to change the play. And I'll live with changing the play.
and own it.
And I'll own it. But when he runs the play that was called, I don't call that.
No, it wasn't called.
Well, yeah.
And that wasn't the play that was called. The play that was called was the reverse.
No, it wasn't.
To Berrios.
Berrios,
No,
which
that's not.
would have
No,
worked.
no. Time out. See,
Give me
this
a
is
deal,
this is
baby.
fake news right now.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, ouch.
What Robert Saleh said, and I can only tell you what Robert Saleh said because I was there, I listened to it, is that the play that was called, he ran.
No,
As
100%
the playbook
no.
stopped, as the playbook called it, that's what he
If he
ran.
saw the A gap was open, he was supposed to run it.
If he saw in the
Saleh-
formation,
The miscommunica-
the
it's
play
an
that
option.
that was not the
It's an
play that was
option.
called. Right. He said in the past, and he stood behind his quarterback. He said he's 100% right based on the defensive alignment that's out there. We give Zach the freedom to call, and he should have made that call. However, in this situation, the play to Berrios would have worked, and we did a poor job
of
communicating
communicating
that
that
we
that's
want
what we
the,
want
the
to
It
play.
play.
never should have been an option.
Agreed.
Right, it should not have been an
So-
option, what Saleh
so
said.
I said it
but
right.
He didn't,
But it wasn't the
yes,
play
you
that was
said
called.
The play
five.
that was called was the option, and that's what he did, and this is how he's supposed to read it. That's what he read. So he made a mistake. He didn't make the mistake
Yeah.
because he wanted to be the star of the game. I don't buy that in a second.
No, I agree.
I agree with you, Todd.
So let's just go back to that. So he made a mistake, and Saleh publicly criticized him for it, which is okay with me because he probably had the
He
conversation
actually
with
put
him.
him more on the coaching
Well,
staff.
but
I mean,
I
He was
think
critical
that-
of himself, right,
I
absolutely.
think
And
that it all.
LaFleur,
But can I tell you,
but-
it all comes back to coaching when you get into these situations. But he'll never have to do it again because I don't believe that Zach Wilson would make the same mistake. I think that you're going to have much more
I don't think
trust.
Saleh will make the same
I would
mistake.
say-
Saleh said he should have been more clear. This is the play. I don't want you to run the option. I want to go to Berrios.
Rich
and
Cimini-
Saleh said himself that he would be more clear next time.
Right. So
I just
much
want to say, Rich Cimini posted the all 22 from that, and you can see
It would've
clearly.
worked.
No, you can see clearly what Wilson was seeing, that the A gap was open, but it was 4th and 2.
Two,
It wasn't
that's
fourth
the
and
other
one.
thing, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
There's no way that was going to stay
And you have
close.
Ndamukong Suh and
Just
Vita
stop.
Vea.
Excuse me. Okay, so you're talking about a rookie quarterback
Right.
that it hasn't been in that position
Right.
before. Even if it was 4th and 1, how many times have you seen him quarterback sneak this year? I can't remember, but that's beside the point. If Tom Brady was there, I would tell you he would have made the
No,
quarterback.
not 4th and 2. You wouldn't have made it.
I'm just you. That's what you say. I'm just saying Tom Brady has not missed a quarterback sneak ever.
I don't-
It does feel that way.
All right, so I'm just saying.
I would venture to say that he almost never does it on 4th and 2.
You
I
can
saw-
venture that, but I know he's done it on 4th and 2 many
I think there was a
I
stat
think I saw him do a 6-yard quarterback sneak.
But to be that as it may, I'm just saying is that so the kid makes a mistake in real time, and Saleh says, well, we should have exactly told him what to do. But I think that what's going to happen later on as the kid becomes good at what he does is he's going to know.
Right.
If you wanted me to quarterback sneak it, he's going to hand it off. I mean, because he's going to see that.
Right.
Look,
That's
and
what I'm just.
we-
that's
I
all
just
I'm
don't think that quarterback sneaks are almost ever called on 4th and 2.
Listen,
And
I
saw a
agree
stat
with
this week
you,
that
but
backs it up.
listen, I wouldn't minded a quarterback draw even, but you were so disappointed by the fact that that Greg said there would have been a quarterback sneak for more than 1 yard by Tom Brady, which is hysterical. But wait, no, this is a good sign. Let me tell you why I think that him making this change at the line is a good sign, because we've talked about all
Confidence in
season.
ownership.
Of course. Well, on his part,
Yes.
number one. But number two, we've talked about all season about does he have the ability and the freedom to change plays at the line? And earlier in the season, he may not have, right? We've talked about certain situations where
But
he was
didn't
sticking with
change the
plays.
play.
All right, but going with
He didn't change the play from
I get what
X57
you're saying,
jet
yeah.
sweep
He took
to
the option in the
to
play
a
that was called.
459 quick post or something.
all right,
Right.
so maybe that's still giving options is the step before you get to calling changing plays
Well,
out
I think
there.
a lot of times, sometimes they try to give the quarterback 2 plays to call
Yep.
based on what the defense is going to be.
Makes sense.
In the helmet. I mean, the one thing we were talking about was when C.J. Mosley changed the defensive play, and he caught grief about it.
Right.
Because he's not supposed to change a defensive call.
Right.
That to me is.
But we talked about
you
it
did
in
that
reference.
all the time,
No,
right?
we talked about this in reference to Zach Wilson too. And the reason though this is important either way is because it is the trust that it shows in him. And based on earlier in the season, he said he wasn't trusting what he saw out there. His coach backed him up. He saw the right thing in terms of the alignment and things. Even in his throws, right? In this game, he looked confident letting that ball go. There wasn't a lot of double pumping. There was a sureness on every one of those throws.
You are 100%
and we're talking
right.
about progress overall.
Correct.
That's a clear sign he's made progress.
Us spending this 7 minutes
Yes.
on this play is asinine because it means nothing.
What's
It-
worse?
other than the
Us
process.
spending the 7 minutes on the play, or the listeners still listening at this point?
Well, the
Can I just
Gary
point
had
this out?
3 minutes of the 7. That's the
fourth-
problem.
That's-
Oh, no, we're going. What's worse is
That's
we're about to
definitely
go
the
back
worst
to the
part.
quarterback sneak.
No, the forecast is for snow at midnight tonight. Can we move on?
There we
Okay.
go.
So, last question about Zach. Arrow pointing up or down, Joe?
Where is this said arrow? I would like to see it.
I have it. It's
Okay.
right in-
I have a
here it
voice.
is.
Second string.
Here it is. All right, we're gonna spin the arrow like the
Right.
wheel of fortune, and tick, 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 tick. It is pointing up, definitely,
I
for Zach
agree.
Wilson.
Oh, the
Right.
way he's ended the season so far. I'd like to see him play well, and unless there's something that you can't foresee against Buffalo, if he plays the same way he's done for the last 4 weeks, whether the Jets win or lose, that's progress. I'm gonna you start giving him a group of starting wide receivers
Yeah.
and a group of starting running and a group of starting offensive linemen. I'm thinking, now you have a kid back there that you can trust to do certain things, where in the middle of the season you couldn't trust it.
Agreed.
Anyway.
Gary?
Well, I think the problem here in how we're going to perceive Zach Wilson going into the offseason, it's unfortunate they're playing in Buffalo on Sunday against a team that really needs to win, that's not going to hold anything back, because I can see a disaster game. And I would say that no matter who the quarterback would be in a similar situation, a quarterback of a bad team, a rookie quarterback, I mean, it could be ugly on Sunday for the Jets, and that shouldn't really cloud our thinking on Wilson, on how he's played the last 2-3 weeks, because, I mean, it's undeniable that he showed some progress, but Sunday could be a big step back just because of the circumstances.
Just don't turn the ball over though, and you'll be happy
Right,
really
right.
from him.
And
in
he
this
hasn't
game.
the last 4 games.
Right, in this game, I'm saying.
All right, so now let's move to the defense. They came up with some big stops against the Bucs, but when everything was on the line, 9 plays, 93 yards, and the GOAT beat them. Greg, you played a little defense in your day. What have you seen from the Jets' defense this year?
A lot of repeat mental errors, particularly in the secondary, the youngest part of their defense. Like I said, the day of the game, that pass Brady threw at the end should have been intercepted. Not even close. It should have been just intercepted. But you had a rookie back there, Elijah Riley, I think it was Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, safety. Takes a wrong angle. He reads it late. That's experience reading it late. You've got to know at this point, there's no tight end down the middle. I got to get to this. That's where it's going. And so he takes one false step and he's done. And he just misses the ball. Well, I got to tell you, next year he won't do that. But it just happened in this game that you have such an inexperienced secondary, not only this game, but all throughout the year. Jets were injured tremendously. we're playing nickel a lot of the times where you should have been playing 3 linebackers anyway. You've got your whole defensive line is makeshift. Carl Lawson's lost for the beginning of the year. So here's a defense that you really thought was going to be good.
Yeah.
Was not good. And in appearance, you'd think, oh, they couldn't stop the run. They didn't do the run. Because they're playing nickel most of the time. Because how are you covering everybody with all these young guys? And especially guys that are hurt. So their injuries exacerbated their inexperience, number one. So to me, that can be changed quickly defensively. Get one of these players here, get this guy back, do something else with your linebacker system, you're in. You're good. You're good. Doesn't mean you're great, but all you have to be in this league is good defensively. Don't allow big plays. I think first down was terrible for the Jets on defense. It leads to third down conversions. So when you look at all of these things that happen with the Jets defense, there's a lot of good stuff you can say, boy, that experience should pay them dividends next year. And if you get a corner, top draft corner or something like that is a shutdown guy, I think the Jets will be fine defensively.
You mentioned third down conversions, and I think one of the biggest plays in this game that I don't think got enough conversation was there was a third and 20 in this game that they converted over there, and they were up 14 at the time. Was that the drive they went down and scored on the Bucs too? And the momentum of the game changed from there. You could feel everything tighten up
It's 2014,
at that moment.
then it's 2017.
Yeah.
I actually have a very serious question for Greg.
As he
I
sighs.
hope my wife's not listening.
I consider myself old school when it comes to things I believe in with football, and I think that Greg is somewhat the same way because we're about the same age as much as I hate to
I don't know.
admit
He
it.
doesn't think the running game matters at all. Like, that's not old
He
school
doesn't care
thinking.
about wins or losses. Not old school.
Brandon Eccles picks off Brady during the game, okay?
Oh, geez.
After the game, he walks up to him
after the
on the field
autograph.
with the football
Brutal.
and a pen and asks Brady for his
Embarrassing.
autograph. What do you think about that?
It's like I think about a lot of things. There comes a point where old school means nothing, and it's what they're doing today. It's about I think worse than that. You think it's bad. I'm thinking the game is over. They're done. You know what? Go shake somebody's hand and you walk. If he did it before the game, I'd have an issue with it. He did it after the game. I could care less. I have a bigger issue with guys in practice, after practice, sitting around orchestrating a touchdown dance or a group thing that you do in the end zone and you go look at yourself and say, hey, look at me. I can't stand a linebacker or a defensive back that comes uncovered, makes a tackle for at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage and pounds their chest.
Down 14 points.
Yes.
See what I did? I mean, that's old school for me. I go, haven't you been there before?
I think the bigger surprise from this, in all honesty, was the fact that Brady signed the ball
Well, he
that he
said
threw the
he'll never
interception
do it
with.
again.
I know. Did he not
said-
know at the time what ball he was signing?
It
May
doesn't-
not have,
yeah.
but who
You know
cares?
what?
He came on and said
He's
he'll
the
never
ultimate
do it
competitor.
again.
He's
It had-
the ultimate
It had a piece
competitor.
of tape on it, which they do on the sidelines, right?
So,
Yeah, of
yeah, so you know
course.
what ball.
So he knew it wasn't just like a game ball, and I'm sure he knew who the kid was, and that he,
But if he knew, he is the ultimate competitor,
Well,
Brady.
he said he
I
will
mean,
never sign an interception
Yeah.
ball again.
Yeah.
So, but Greg, the
Oh,
question.
you know how much that ball's going to be
oh,
worth?
so much money now because of that. Yes,
Maybe
absolutely.
the kid's smarter than I thought. But one more quick follow-up for Greg. One more quick follow-up. The question is, yes, shaking hands afterwards, that's sportsmanship. But asking somebody for an autograph is putting an opponent on a pedestal.
You're beating a dead horse already. I said to you, I said, you got to change with the times. This is the way they do it all the
Well,
time.
now they
don't-
do
they don't do
jersey
that all
swaps.
the time.
They
They
do
do
jersey
jersey
swaps.
swaps.
They
But
don't
that's a
do
little bit.
autographs.
It's a
Oh,
little bit
that's
different.
one. That's a one in a thing. You take the outlier and make it a fact.
There's
like,
a there's
like
no, but there's a
everyone's
little bit of a
doing it.
difference between
We're
a jersey swap, at least in my opinion,
Yes,
because
'cause
it's
you're-
mutual
it's
respect.
mutual,
I want your
yes.
jersey. I want to say I play.
Yes.
You know, like there's a mutual
Yes.
Same
respect in
thing
that.
to me. Same thing to me.
I mean, I get. I think it's a
Nah,
small.
you're
It's a
wrong.
small difference, but I think there is a difference.
There's a huge difference, and you're wrong. But speaking of you being wrong,
All right.
so Coach Saleh, so the beginning of the season was all about he's a rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator, rookie quarterback. What is Coach Saleh going to bring to this team? So you look at last week. You look at a meaningless game for the Jets in the standings, and his team played hard and had a chance to win. What do you guys think about the job that Saleh's done? And culture seems to be a big thing with the Giants. What about the culture that seems to be changing with the Jets?
I like the way Saleh communicates.
Me too.
I like his press conferences. Not that that's the be-all and end-all, but it's a way of communicating with the fans. And I like the way he's conducted his business this year. It's very difficult for a long stretch there where they weren't winning games. The kid quarterback was looking like he'd never played before. He kind of held the team together. But, on the other hand, and we've discussed this so many different times, that these guys, it's in their best interest to always play hard. They're playing for their careers. These are guys who, a lot of them, were borderline NFL players. I mean, where would they ever come off quitting? I mean, unless they just don't want to continue their career, because the tape don't lie, as they always say, and whatever they're putting on tape is going to help determine whether they're back with their team next year or they get an opportunity somewhere else. But just overall with Saleh, I don't think he necessarily put together the best coaching staff. I'm disappointed in how the defense has played, especially because his background was a defensive coordinator, and he's a coordinator on a Super Bowl team in San Francisco. I don't know how much real help he's gotten from his defensive coaches. He hired a rookie offensive coordinator who's learning along with his rookie head coach. So supposedly Mike LaFleur will be much better next year, like Jack Wilson will be better, and they'll grow together. But that remains to be seen. But I think overall, I just like the tone that he set. And we always talk about the culture. We don't know what the culture is unless you're in the locker room every day, like Greg used to be. But it just seemed like this team is hung together. They just need so many more good players, and that's why accumulating all these high draft picks, will determine the future of this franchise and how they use those picks.
So let's finish the Jets, talking about the future and those draft picks. Joe, what is the high water mark for Jet fans that are out there listening next year? How many steps forward can they take?
I'm going to sound crazy. I think they can make the playoffs.
Fantastic.
And the NFL is a year-to-year league, and you look at the way the schedule changes when you've had a poor schedule. Look, their division's tough, and that's going to be the hardest part for them because the Patriots just retool. We know what the Bills are, and so that's going to be the toughest part for them. But when you look at some of the playmakers they have on there, the growth of Elijah Moore, you look at the health of that offensive line, if they can stay healthy with Elijah Vera Tucker over there and Mount Becton, if he can ever stay healthy over there. But the potential is there, right, that you've seen good things. And then you mentioned the high draft picks. Look, the secondary literally was learning on the job. I mean, they were the youngest team. They were the youngest team in the NFL this season, and at the start of it anyway. And to be able to stick together, to be able to see some of that growth out there, I think they can be really good. And then, of course, Carl Lawson getting injured. You get more pressure on the quarterback. All of a sudden, that secondary doesn't have to hold up as long, and it changes things in a big way. So 2 top 10 picks they're going to have. That can be a big change. You bring in 1 or 2 free agents, and you get healthy. That if it all comes together, it can be a playoff season, I think,
the
for
P
them.
word, Greg.
Well, I think actually they have the 3 of the top 35 picks or
There you
something
go.
like that. So that's pretty good. And you can do a lot with that. You can trade 1 or 2 of them and move back and get quality guys that they need. You couldn't do it if you were looking for a quarterback.
Right.
Maybe even a wide receiver. Wide receivers shouldn't go that high. But I think that Joe was eloquent in the way he stated.
As always.
That those are the issues with the Jets. And yes, they can turn it around. The question comes down to is that with this draft, which I thought Joe Douglas was great last year, and it's particularly the Adams trade to Seattle. Mm-hmm. That was
brilliant.
That was genius. I mean, you can call it what you want. I'm calling it genius because I thought he was okay as a player. I never thought he was a great cover guy. He's a safety, and you can get that much for a safety. He wasn't Ronnie Lott, but be that as it may, so the Jets are able to do this, and that's why this year's record meant nothing to me because it was all about the rebuild and going to the future. If Zach Wilson can play, which I do believe he can, now you have a solid basis. If Becton can play, and I'm not so sure he can or he can't, because
when he's out there, he can play. He's looked good on tape.
He could not block Carl Lawson in preseason. Let's just say what it is.
Right.
But that was great because that could have been something
Carl
that all
Lawson
Jet
could be
fans
great,
tell.
maybe,
So my
right?
thing is he still has a lot to learn, and he missed this whole year of learning. So I don't know where that kid's going to be next year. Vera Tucker was pretty good. The guys with the hyphenated names played pretty good this year. Both guards. The guy they got from Cleveland,
Kansas City.
Dr.
Tardif.
Duvernay
Duvernay Tardif, yes.
Right. So my thing is that's pretty good.
Hey, let's not forget
Offense-
John Franklin Myers on the other side of the ball looked pretty
Well,
good
yeah,
too.
but I got to tell you.
Okay.
So you get one more offensive tackle.
They need Greg Buttle Klecko to come back.
Yeah, but that's only one play a piece. That's not going to work out for him. So my thing is the Jets have a good core, and I go core by players and attitude, because Saleh projects the attitude. You are what your head coach is. If you have a manic depressive, if you have a Ray Hanley, that's what you're going to get. If you have a paranoid schizophrenic like a Joe Wald, that's what you're going to be. And so, I'm just using those colloquial terms. I want not being specific. You have a tough Polish guy from Sawyersville coal mine, grew up in. That's what you are. And so you've got a Saleh. What is Saleh? Saleh has come out. He's eloquent. He's gets the players. He demands this. He doesn't change the color of the day. The color's blue. It stays blue. So he's consistent in what he does. Players love that. If you can get a guy like a C.J. Mosley who's going to change his game and his position and not bitch and moan, that's what you need. And so they've got a good core now in a locker room that I'm saying they had no locker room over the last 5 years. And everything was a jumble. Now it looks like this whole year has been that. And that's what fans have to recognize. They can't recognize it for the record. And that's what I've been trying to say. The record meant nothing this year. Next year, the record means a lot. Next year, it does.
And the high water mark next year could be?
High water mark to me is if they win more than 8 games, which I think they can, you only have to win 9 or 10. And maybe you can get, this year they were blown out 7 times. They might be blown out 8 times after this coming Sunday. And by blown out, that's 2 touchdowns or more in a game. 7 times. What is that a reflection of? Players. Players win blowouts. Coaches win close games. They only won 4 games by a touchdown or
I've
or a
never
field
heard
goal.
you articulate it that way. I think that's really interesting.
But it's true. Coaches don't
Players
win
win
blowouts.
blowouts and coaches win close games.
Oh, it's the guy making the one-handed catch,
I like
the
that.
interceptions, it's the sacks. No coach. Let's coach a sack there. Let's coach a sack this play. You tell me the coach that does that, okay? Well, Bill Parcells may have been able to say that. I told him to go do it. But anyway, so my thing is the coaches win close games because it's very important. Timeouts, the clock, punting, kick the ball, go for it. All of those calls over the course of a game help you win a close game.
Quarterback sneak or hand it off.
That's correct. No, that is 100% right. And I'm glad you said it because he took the blame.
Yeah, and he did.
And my thing is he may have took the blame tongue in cheek. But
No, I don't think he did.
No, I don't
did.
either. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, as people can look at it as such, but he did because you know what? As the coaches, they should have known.
How about the fact, though,
Right.
that they even went for it in that position, which I loved? They iced the
Who-
game.
who-
They get the
who
first
would
down. There
that-
were people who were
that-
critical
can
of
I-
them, saying they should have kicked the field goal in that spot.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay was saying kick the field goal.
Oh, 100%.
That defensive
They went
kicked
for
the
2.
field goal.
They went for 2 anyway. Tampa Bay on the other end got it and iced the game anyway.
Then they
which
run
is-
anyway. But anyway, my thing is that when it comes down to it, I think the Jets have the basis to be a good football team beginning next year. And if they get the right players in the draft for them, and it's the guys that can either prevent a touchdown or score a touchdown, and that doesn't mean running back, that's what they're going to get.
We talk about, I'm glad you just said running back there because running backs we know in the NFL have been devalued completely, right? And how critical everybody was about Saquon Barkley getting selected with the 2nd overall pick there. But one position, and I don't think we talk enough about it, I don't think anybody's talking enough about it, that doesn't get enough attention, is the tight end. Tight ends in this NFL, and again, Belichick, I feel like, was always ahead of the curve, and he was the guy who did it. Whether it's
Joe Gibbs before him with the
yeah,
H-back.
yes,
Come
but I mean,
on.
we've gone through evolution since then, and
just saying.
but the tight end in today's game is so valuable and still underappreciated unless you're Kittle or Kelsey. But he went out, Belichick, in the offseason and brought in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, and whether it's blocking or getting open in the red zone or just the mismatches that they create, the Jets tight end group has been basically non-existent. They need to go out. Injuries played a role to a
I thought
part, but even when they were
Griffin's
healthy,
a good tight end. I would take him any day. Tyler Croft looks like he's pretty good, but they've been injured on and off. Wesco's been injured on and off. Iobo, whoever scored
Kenny Ioba. Yeah.
Ioba, I mean, he played pretty good, but it doesn't matter
they're
what
not-
tight end you don't have.
But you talk about but I'm just saying, we're talking about offseason and what they need to do to change. Man, if they could go out and add a weapon at tight end, it just changes the game for you.
All I'm saying is that's not my first pick. My first pick is not a tight end.
I understand.
I mean,
But they're underappreciated, which is the whole argument that I'm making in today's NFL. Look at what Kyle Pitts came in and did this year, right? Like, he tore up the NFL, and I mean, he's a freak athlete, obviously, and everything like that. But a guy like T.J. Hawkinson over in Detroit, there's high level tight end play in the NFL right now, right? We talk about the age of quarterbacks when quarterback level was about. Right now, tight end play is really high, and the Jets are very low on the in relation to
They've
that.
got more things to worry about than a
The thing about tight end is it gives a release valve and a big target for a young quarterback. So I agree with that.
Which would be great.
Which is in this
this
particular
quarterback, yeah.
instance. So I definitely agree with you. So now let's move on to the Giants because we had two very optimistic Jet predictions, and I want to stay away from Gary Myers on that. So Gary, we're going to start with you. Joe Judge went off the rails. His 11-minute soliloquy was a little bit off the rails. He attacked the Washington football team, which was unacceptable. Mm-hmm. He attacked the offensive coordinator in Denver, which was unacceptable. He got pushback from both of those coaches. What do you think his soliloquy?
Did Pat Shermer respond to that?
Yes, we absolutely did.
I didn't see
He said
that.
it was false. He said they didn't quit. They had won 2 of the last 3 games for him. So my question to you is, how is that going to play with Mara? Do you think that it could hurt his chances of securing the head coaching job?
I think that the reaction to Judge's first of all, his post games all season have been very strange. It's hard to put your finger on
Overly
it.
optimistic, usually.
Yeah, they get blown out.
Right.
They did good things.
Right.
It's coaching. It's teaching. He was just reciting stuff from the coach's handbook. The other day, I don't know.
Yeah, but he was using the wrong chapters at the wrong
Yeah,
time.
at the wrong time, right.
Yeah. The stuff he said the other day, I think he made it more difficult for the Giants to bring him back because the reaction to what he said, was so negative. And, fans don't want to hear about how he's changed the culture in the locker room when you've won 4 games. Fans don't want to hear, and the free agents on this team come walking in my office, and boy, they want to come back. And the fans go, no, we want them to leave.
That's not a good thing.
No, and then
show
he's
them the
talking
door.
about guys who left that are calling him twice a week that they wish they stayed even though they got more money to go somewhere else. Name some names,
Right,
Put your name behind that.
right.
I mean, the stuff that he's saying is just bizarre way of trying to defend the job that he's done. Quite honestly, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. Maybe the players love him. I don't know.
It seems like they do because based on their answers when they get asked about his comments,
They won 10
always
games.
I know it's
in 2
amazing.
years.
No, I'm with you. But the guys
not
who go
good.
up there to the podium seem to. Listen, losing has got to be
So they're
frustrating.
in love with their coach. Good for them. Back it up and show it on the field with results.
Well, maybe that's
Right.
why they need to blow it up.
Maybe they have really nice team meetings and they love having lunch together. Who cares? You got to win.
You got to win.
And
The NFL stands for not for long if you don't win in this
I
league.
honestly have not seen, this sounds really harsh, I have not seen one redeeming quality of Joe Judge that I'm saying, I got to bring this guy back. I think he's horrible on game days. His decisions on 4th down, when to kick a field goal, when to go for 2, when to do it, horrible. And to me, that's where a coach really earns his money, is managing Sundays. And I think he's terrible at that. And obviously, Listen, the major problem the Giants have is personnel. Dave Gettleman has done a despicable job in 4 years. Just
Yes.
I liked him when he came back here after he was in Carolina for a while, but
His free agent decisions have just been ridiculous.
yeah, it's
terrible.
mind-boggling.
But Gary, I would just like to tell you, I have
Kenny
a philosophy
Golladay.
on football. My philosophy is players win blowouts, coaches win
Wow,
close games.
that is a
You know,
brilliant
that's
That's
philosophy.
good. Is that good?
I like that.
That's my philosophy on football.
I heard that recently for the
You
first
did?
time. First time.
That's
ever.
been my philosophy my whole life. I just haven't articulated it.
Yeah.
I kept it to myself.
It's just he just can't. 2 years is a long time to be a head coach and
It
show no
is.
progress. And
So
again,
the back,
maybe we can blame the lack of quality players on this team, but you'd like to see improve. What area
But
of the
look,
Giants have improved?
You went out and you got Kenny Galladay in the offseason.
stinks.
He has not had one touchdown catch this entire season.
How many offensive linemen do they have who have more touchdown catches than him?
It's insane how they've gone through everybody on
The guy
this
was
roster.
hurt and an underachiever in Detroit. It was going to get better here.
Yeah, well,
He was playing with Matthew Stafford there, who was a much better
It's not
quarterback.
Judge's fault.
I mean, even Kyle Rudolph came over here though, and he came out recently and said that I came here with expectations. I thought this could be, good. I don't know if they pulled back the curtain on him here, but he didn't seem to have the same optimism going forward in
Yes.
his comments there.
Yeah, and you
Well,
know
and
how
I can
much
tell you what.
Judge has in what his input was on some of these free agent decisions, but they spent a lot of money in the offseason.
did.
And they've won few. You know, if the game
They
was
thought
just-
they were close.
if the season was over now, they won 2 fewer games than they won last year, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's not good. So the Giants have not, repeat, not been competitive in the last 5 games. They've scored 10 points or less in 6 of the last 8 games.
Jason Garrett clapping somewhere.
Yes, he is definitely rejoicing. Do they need to blow this whole thing up and start over?
Well, I think that because they're going to hire a new general manager, and they're not going to fire Gettleman. He's just to get allow him to go out gracefully and say he retired. I think it's very hard unless you promote from within, like they did with Jerry Reese in 07, and they kept Coughlin. Then I think
Right.
you can possibly keep the coach.
Right.
When you're just doing it from within.
Right.
But how could they possibly promote somebody from within to make the personnel decisions when these people have been part of all the personnel decisions for the last few years? Okay, then are they going to go on the outside? Well, who's the next hot, can't miss general manager? I mean, that's hard to identify. But if you bring
Dorsey,
maybe?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Dorsey,
Dorsey.
Ken Dorsey.
the guy who used to be in
Browns was with the
Browns.
Browns
Oh,
and
John
with
Dorsey?
John Dorsey,
Yeah.
yes.
Why?
Well, I mean,
did
he's
it
the
right.
name. He helped the Browns get to a playoffs and built a team there.
Yeah, but they got rid of him, and they didn't. I don't think they did it.
Everyone gets fired in the NFL.
But he was only there for a couple of years. It was like a year after he picked Baker Mayfield.
How's that working out?
Well, you've heard John Dorsey's
Listen,
name.
we have our own bad teams in New York we can talk about
I-
and our own fires
I
to
guess
deal
my
with.
point is, if you bring in somebody from the outside and ask him to keep Judge, I think that's a really difficult ask.
I do
To keep
too.
a guy who's won 10 games
And the
in 2 years.
quarterback.
Well, I'm okay keeping the quarterback because he's not.
But
he
you
hasn't
can't
got-
bring in a new general manager and say, "Here's your quarterback, here's your coach.
No,
you got to keep
but
them both."
you can say
Let him
here's your-
evaluate him.
Right, but where you going to get another quarterback? You can go plenty of places to get another coach, but it's not a
Russell
good
Wilson.
It's not a good quarterback draft. They're
Yeah.
not getting Russell Wilson. They're not taking on that contract for a 33, soon to be 34-year-old quarterback who was hurt this year. We don't know how much he's got left. I just
Well,
I
it's a
don't.
hand injury. His hand hit a helmet on a fallen
No,
throw.
I understand,
It's
but
not like
it's-
he's
but-
injury
but he's not-
prone.
it's not like he's played
he
great the
started
last-
every game until that.
It's not like he's played great the last few years.
I mean, listen,
Why can't they just
the
get
team
their
has
own
changed around him.
quarterback?
But I
Or
agree.
They tried that.
Well, develop the one they have. Get a good quarterback coach in here. This kid has talent. I wouldn't give up on him yet.
Okay.
I agree with you on that. I think,
I
and
do
I
too,
think
actually.
the fall off from him being there, like when he was there, we all wanted to blame him. But look how the offense has been
They
since he's
can't
been gone.
function
They at least
now.
look competent. Right now, they're just a dumpster fire. So at least maybe that bodes well for him. But when it comes to starting all over, I would get rid of Judge if you're going to bring in a new GM, which you're going to. I think that there should be a clean slate to start. But I think the question is who? Who are you getting to replace him? Because rumors about Jim Harbaugh, I don't think that's the right move at all to bring him in. here
I
in
have
New
a
York.
question. Why would you do that? Seriously speaking,
As the Giants or Harbaugh?
As the Giants. Why would you fire Judge and now get rid of all the coaches and start again? And now with the new general manager, you don't know how the general manager is going to do it. So you bring the new general manager in. He comes in. He's got a year. And you tell the guy, listen, I'm going to give you a year, and we're going to see how it goes. You got
Joe Judge has a year, you mean?
No, well, the general manager coming in
has a year.
Yeah, because you got to know he's got a good draft. You got to know where. Let's go do a draft. Let's see how we're going to do. Let's see how you react with the head coach, and just follow me on this for a second. And now Joe Judge is going to go into his third year. All right, and you know what? If the Giants go. No one's going 500, but they go over 500. All right, is that because of the new general managers or because of the coach? And so, if you're going to want to go lose again next year, then fire everybody. Just fire everybody. If you want your fans to have no hope about anything, fire everybody. I mean, the Jets have done that for 5 times in the last 20 years. You know, so you look at it and you go, man, you can't do it all the time. You've got to stay a course with a guy that you think can do this. There's not one person sitting at this table that thinks the Giants' talent is so overladen that it's Joe Judge's fault they didn't win.
I agree with everything you said, except the fact that you give the new GM 1 year.
He said 1 year with Judge.
With Judge.
Right, okay, that's what I said. I said you give Judge 1 year. Right.
But the general manager gets a year to build the team, to see how Judge reacts.
Right.
To see how
so it's really you're going to give Judge a year with that GM.
Yeah, but giving the GM a year, you're not making him blow the whole thing up.
Right. Well, I don't think. But
I think that makes perfect sense.
The whole idea of making a GM
that.
blow the whole thing up is I think we're not seeing eye to eye because I think GMs want to come.
We always see eye to eye.
But GMs want to come in. You don't make him. They want to come in. They want. I want my guys. I want my system. I want my people in. So I think they usually come in and
give him a year of grace. Let the
agree.
GM evaluate what they have. Evaluate Judge. Bring in 2 high-round draft picks. See where you're at, and then blow it up if he wants to.
I agree wholeheartedly.
If I'm a new GM coming into the Giants, right?
Yep.
And I have Joe Judge. I want to have the best relationship I can with Joe Judge. When it comes down to drafting players, the buck is going to stop with me because I'm the general manager. But I'm going to listen to that head coach.
Right.
And I'm going to make notations. You wanted this guy over this guy? Okay, boom. You wanted this guy over this guy? Fine. I wanted this guy over this guy? Fine. So you make your notations down and you go, all right, why do you want this guy over this guy? And these are the reasons.
Right.
And now let's see how that plays out. That's all I'm saying. See how that plays out, and does your team become better? That being said, Joe, I don't know what assistant coaches are out there for Joe Judge. In other words, when you become a new head coach, the hardest thing to do is fill your coaching staff. A lot of teams fill it for you because there's no one available for you. They're all under contract. So the real good coaches out there are under contract. You're left with my friend who I trust is going to follow me, and I know what he can do, and it already has to learn a little, but at least I have a guy that I know I can trust, and he's out to protect me and the team, et cetera, et cetera. And then you find out whether the guy is really good enough or not. Then you're going to have to let the guy go. But that's a problem with new head coaches, is having the assistant coaches that you can use. If you come off of a one tree, like he's off the Belichick tree, Belichick's got to be helping him getting guys. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is that I really believe that the Giants should have a new GM, and I believe that they should keep Judge and let the chips fall where they may after this year, and then go forward. And I think, because I don't think that you can fire a head coach again after 2 years and think you're going to get stuff done.
By the way, I also think that the funny thing about this is, as bad as I think Dave Gettleman has been in free agency and his drafts have been questionable at best before, I think the last 2 years you're going to look back and he has gotten some good pieces for the Giants. Azeez Ojulari has looked very good as a pass rusher. Andrew Thomas looks like he's growing into the tackle they thought he would be. And Kadarius Toney looks like he's a game changer at wide receiver. So, and then throw in the fact that this Justin Fields trade, if they draft well moving forward, listen, Gettleman's going to be gone, but if this team turns the corner, the ghost of Gettleman could very much be getting the credit for all of this.
But the bottom line is this is what the Giants are. It's not what the Giants will be. Because if they are what they are now, it's too late for Gettleman. It's,
Oh no, he's got to go.
right.
Listen,
So,
there's
but
no.
My
yeah,
thing
there's
is
no.
that there's plenty of good players. I love Daniel Jones. The kid can play. He's got great feet. He's
I agree
a
with
close
you.
reminder of Allen in Buffalo. The way
Wow.
he can move, the way he's got the poise in the pot. But you got to have everybody around you. You got to protect the guy.
Right.
You've got to do. He hasn't had a running back. Not that running backs
That's high
are
praise.
to me are a big deal. Barkley is coming off of those injuries. I mean, so what do you got for the guy? I mean, you had nothing for him. See what happens next year with him. That's what I say.
Okay, so let's finish with this. Going into this season, everyone thought that the Giants were on the verge of making the playoffs. Last year, of course, the Washington football team easily won the division. But the Giants had a chance at the last game of the season going into Sunday Night Football. And this was the season with the additions they made in the offseason that they were going to break through. And people thought they were a playoff team. Now, the way the season played off, it looks like they're just a mess. So the question is, what do you feel, Joe, and then around the table, is the high water mark for the Giants next year?
I don't trust the NFC East at all. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it past anybody winning the division. They were looking at, until this year, I think the NFC, it used to be the NFC South, who had every year a team was going from worst to first and winning the division. So I wouldn't put that completely out of the realm of possibilities. The investments that they make just really need to pay off. Their biggest swings have been their biggest misses for the Giants, and that, I think, is the issue right now. But I again, the ball bounces your way. You get a weaker schedule, and unlike the Jets, I think their division is a lot lighter than the AFC East. I'll give them 9 wins, and is the high water mark, and whether or not they can win the NFC East, we'll see.
Love it. Mr. Buttle?
I think that the Giants, along with the Jets, have lost some big games and have lost some close games. I think injuries played a big role with the Giants this year in 3 or 4 games. But they have to be better in the other games. So to me, I think the Giants will be in the watermark. I've always believed this. I always believe every team should be at least 500, barring injuries, especially to specific big-time guys on your team. And because you're going to win close games, you're going to lose close games. It's how many games you have blowouts that matter. And, of course, who makes blowouts, guys?
Players.
So
Coaches win the
close games
I've
or lose
always
the close
said that.
games. So my thing, well, that's
philosophy.
you should take that, patent it. But
yeah,
my thing
well,
is
bumper
that
stickers.
so now you got to get in a position. Do the Giants have the players to win those games? Once the Giants can blow a team out, or the Jets can blow a team out, now you know that. Now you know they're on the verge, but they're not going to be on the verge winning close games. You may go 8-8 or 10-6 because the ball bounced your way twice. If you go 6-10 or 7-10, the ball bounced your way twice the wrong way. And so that's the fine line between what happens with these teams in the NFL.
It's interesting, though. How many teams in the NFL can win without their starting quarterback, right? Like, look at the Ravens, I believe, were, 8-2 before Lamar Jackson went out, and I don't think they've won it all, maybe one game since he went down. Seattle without Russell Wilson. I mean, I don't think there's a team in the NFL that can sustain over the long haul without their starting quarterback.
And not even joking, but the Washington football team did excel without Fitzpatrick. They won 4 games in a row. It's 4 games in a row.
He's been a
with
full backup quarterback.
With a backup quarterback.
That's what Fitzpatrick is, a backup quarterback.
Well, but Fitzpatrick was our starter.
Well, but he's
But I'm saying
total backup quarterback in the league.
So our total backup quarterback was our starter. When he went out, Heineke
Which was
came
week one. Yeah, okay.
And then Heineke came in. He won 4 games in a row.
After
So you
losing
can-
how many first, though?
We're not discussing
No,
that.
you can.
What's wrong
But
with you?
again,
I said sustain.
your team was your Washington football team.
Yes.
They didn't. I don't remember them having a slew of injuries this year. I don't think they had a lot.
They lost Chase Young, for God's sakes.
Okay, there's one guy.
What do you mean there's one guy?
No, the Jets lost Carl Lawson, but no one cares.
I care.
But no.
Carl cares.
No,
Carl's
that's my
mother's very
point.
upset about
My
it.
point is that one player shouldn't make a huge difference in your final record.
Except the quarterback
Right,
position.
except the quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, we lost Gibson. We had Sweat out for a lot of the year. They had a ton of injuries.
You lost Gibbs too, right? Joe Gibbs. He's getting gone.
Gibson, Joe Gibson. Well, actually,
Antonio
he was.
Antonio Gibson.
Yes, they were.
Bob Gibson.
I love Bob Gibson.
Oh.
He brought the heat. Could you bring the heat? Giants with high watermark for next year, Gary.
6.
Wow.
I mean, where are we seeing the improvement? We got to see what the offseason brings. That's why it's hard to say that right now. You know, if they get Russell Wilson, who I think would be a good short-term fix, I'm just not sure that he's what you have to give up to get him is going to be worth. I mean, what would you give up for Russell Wilson? You know that the Seahawks won both their Giants' #1 picks.
I give up one of them.
Well, they're going to want both because
give up one
to
this
make
year,
up for
one
the
next
Jamal
year.
Adams trade. They're going to want to get 2 picks back, especially if they're
What
in
the
top
city
10.
of New York owes to them? Is that the deal?
Yeah, 24 bucks.
Yes.
I just don't think you give up on Daniel Jones. That's me.
So I would agree with that. I've
I
seen
agree
enough.
with that too.
I've seen like flashes from Daniel Jones
Yes.
over the last 3 years, and I'm saying if he can put it together, if he can get a good coach, he hasn't had one.
And an offensive line.
I was ridiculed for this comparison the other day because of who it is. But I said what I see now from Daniel Jones reminds me of Tony Romo earlier in his career. He will escape pressure sometimes and extend plays and then make a bad decision or miss a throw when he's running for his life. But the reason the play is even alive and he has the opportunity to do that is because of his athleticism. By the time Romo had a good offensive line, he was toward the end of his career, and
But
who knows if he didn't get injured.
Romo won at the beginning of his career. When he took over for Bledsoe in 06 with Parcells, and then in 07 they were the 1 seed. And we lost at home to the Giants, but
Bad-
they had a great
Bad hold,
season.
right?
That was
Yeah.
against the Seattle Seahawks.
It's unbelievable.
He's
Right,
right
that
in
one
there.
play can go
That
down
one
in
play.
your whole career.
Well,
But I think they
entire
were. But I think they
career.
were. I think they were 9-7 or 8-8 that season. I mean, and look, the Giants were just almost made the playoffs last year if the Eagles didn't quit and give it
Oh,
hand the division.
my God.
6 and 10 record.
Doesn't
Oh,
matter.
my
What do they win it
God.
with? You know what? Those teams go in there and win.
All right, so I would like to personally say that I think both the Giants and Jets will make the playoffs next year. I think that what that'll do is it'll make the New York Blitz must-watch TV, Picks on Podskin, much-listened podcast, and I
What was
personally
his
would
record
like
this
to.
year? He picked the Giants and Jets to win every week.
I did. It
And
wasn't good.
between them, they got, I mean, they got
What are they? 8-24.
Yeah, it's not bad. I got 8 wins. I'll take that. So I'd like to personally thank Gary Myers, who keeps receipts, sadly. Greg Buttle, who stole my philosophy on football. Joe Mauceri, obviously, who just holds us all together. Sean
Joe was the
Landetta.
breakout player of the year.
I think so. I agree with that. Yes, without a
Well,
doubt.
thank you.
Yeah, why not? And Sean Landetta for obviously his contributions to the New York Blitz and to Picks on Pigskin. I'd like to thank everybody for listening. And go Giants, go Jets.
Talk to you next season.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! Let's have lunch.
I wish you would have just stopped. You know how long that was? Why would you not stop talking today?